All right, so we're looking at my SharePoint Online site. First thing we notice here is up at the top, global navigation up here. We've got an awful lot of links. If we scroll, it causes left-right scrolling, which is never a good thing for website usability. That's a big no-no. So we'll fix those links in a minute. First of all, I wanted to point out that we want those global links to always be on every page of the site and every subsite. And if I go into one of my subsites, for example, if I go to the blog site here, you can see that that is consistent. If I go to my news subsite, again, you can see that those links are consistent no matter where we are on the site. So one thing that I want to point out is that when you create a subsite, by default, we'll go back to the home page here, we'll go into our site contents, and we're going to create a new subsite. When we go in here to create our new subsite, this behavior is not set to inherit the navigation by default, and that's not a good thing. So let's just give our site a name, any template. We want to use the same permissions as parent, but you'll notice here, use the top link from the parent site. By default, is set to no. You want to set that to yes when you create your subsite. If you don't, here's what will happen. We'll leave it at no. We'll create a site, and what you'll find is when it gets done creating, you'll just have links to that site itself. You won't have that global navigation appearing on the top nav. Okay, so here's my new site, and I only have a link to my new site. You can fix that by going into site settings. So if you set it up wrong the first time, you can go in and fix it. You want to go to navigation, and you want to say display the same navigation items as the parent site for your global navigation. Click OK. So don't worry if you don't set it up right the first time. You can fix that here. We've got all our navigation links. One thing that I do want to mention, so we're in our subsite here still. You can see it up here, new site. And one of the tips that I said was that you should show a home page link on every page of your site. Well, by default, typically on a website, your icon here is going to always take you to the home page. Well, in SharePoint, it's set up wrong, in my opinion. It's always taking you to the home page of the subsite. So this is something you'd have to change in SharePoint Designer. You have to change it in your master page, because if I click this, it just takes me back to my new site. That's not where I want to go. So something to point out, you'll have to change that in your master page to hard code it back to your top level site's home page if that's how you wish it to behave. We can get back there by clicking on, this is the name of my top level site, SPSTC demo. So now we're back at my top site. Now remember I said we're going to fix these navigation links because there's way too many going across the top here. We're going to create some nested drop downs. So let's go into our site settings, click on navigation, and we'll scroll down to this top box here under global navigation. You can see I have all my team sites here. I want to move those up into this teams subheader. So if I have to click on each one of these and say move up, and see how now it's indented. So it's put that underneath the team. So it's gonna put that under a drop-down menu under the teams header. So I just have to do this with every one of my team sites here. And I'm going to do the same thing with, we've got some stuff that I want to put under this stuff header just to demonstrate the drop-down functionality. So when I've got that done, click OK. And now you'll see all my links are still here, but they're just nested in drop downs, so they're organized better, much easier to visualize, and it makes sense the way they're kind of organized. So the next thing I wanted to point out is the left navigation, or the quick launch, as it's sometimes referred to in SharePoint. Typically, when you create a new list or library, it's just going to put a link to the list name. So if you had a list called contracts, it's just going to have a link to contracts. And I personally prefer to have like action words in your link name so it's evident what users are going to do when they click it. So view all contracts is going to take me to a screen where I can view all contracts. Add new contract is going to take me to a screen where I can upload a new contract. So view team tasks, the same thing. So just a little bit more descriptive, gives the user a little bit better idea of what you're going to be doing. And then the last thing here to show you is opening links in a new window. So you notice every link I clicked on thus far has opened up in the same browser window. Remember I mentioned that if you have external links, it's a good idea to open those up in a new window. So if I click on this weather link, that's taking me out. Since that's taking me outside of the site, I'm going to open that into a new window so that when I'm done looking at the weather and I close this, I'm still in my site.